So I mentioned a time or two before, I think, that I worked in a university for medical sciences, a medical sciences university, and I wasn't a scientist, so I was a technician. But one of the things that sort of is an advantage of working in that sort of area is that you get a chance to see how the sausage is made, if you will, in that world. Well, I worked in a place that was a basic research facility, and it meant that I got to see a whole bunch of different studies of various kinds come through, whether it was the original study or somebody trying to peer review somebody else's work or somebody trying to build on the work of someone else. And there were a couple of things that I saw any number of times, and one of them was that somebody would try and make somebody else's stuff work, and they would find out that there were all of these caveats and various things that you had to take into consideration that made it so that maybe the study wasn't quite as all-encompassing as you might have initially thought it to be. There were a number of things that were possible, right? But one of the things that I found out, one of the things that I realized is logic is sadly often compromised even in situations like that. And that's why I wanted to talk today on logic on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 4th of September, 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble on the podcast, on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. That's where I would prefer you listen to me. And again, the subject for today is logic, and we're going to run through the notes real quick just so that we can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Even the most stoic of people is inside an emotional being. I'm not saying there aren't any folks out there who are sociopaths or otherwise lacking emotional capacity. I would go so far as to say the people who show emotion the least are often among those who feel things the most. To put it simply, they fear what they might do or who they could become if they allowed the beast that is their feelings to run free. What does this have to do with logic? Logic is a dish best served cold. They like to say that about revenge. I say it's true about logic. That is to say, emotions of various kinds pretty much always taint the logical process. It's for this reason one must be aware of one's feelings, whether they wear their proverbial heart on their sleeve or not. I know myself to be a person who deals with more than my share, literally in my mind, of anger. For example, if I allow it to do so, that anger, along with every other flight or plight of my heart, will render the logical process all but useless. It's bad enough that we have a tendency toward the same errant behavior found in many research settings. We advance a theory, and then come Hades or high water, we do everything in our power to prove its truth. And I've got prove in quotes there, in case you're wondering. This is neither how the scientific process nor logic as a general thing are intended to work. I've spent many years undoing the folly of entangling my heart's desires with my logical process and will likely continue to do so for the rest of my time on the planet. Logic cannot countenance consensus either. That doesn't make general agreement wrong by necessity, but it means it should always be open to examination. There are just a few plagues I see, or these are just a few, plagues I see in most folks' logical processes as well often as my own. So, if we allow for the general feeling, for emotion, for so many other things that don't belong there, to do so, to be there, in the process of making determinations instead of logic, we will taint the process. Now, in order to get to the place where we're actually applying logic to decide what to do or whatever, what's happening, whatever, we may need to look at what's important to people and so forth, to morals and ethics and so forth. So I'm not saying that none of that should be in the process at all. I'm saying that when you're dealing with logically figuring things out, you have to shut off largely things like emotion, things like your desires, right? Which I suppose you could couch as emotion as well if you wanted to do so. You have to shut those things off, and you have to make your determinations on the basis of the facts that can be found. And sometimes you have to kind of guess, but the truth is you must be careful not to allow your desires, your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, your anger, your sadness, your happiness, whatever it happens to be, you cannot allow them to be the driving processes in the logical process. There can be a separate thing going on where you have emotion, but you have to, when you look at things logically, put aside the emotional content that's involved, and you can use it to drive you, like I say, but you have to be careful about that for more than one reason, because among other things, emotion will drive a person past their sticking point, past the point where they should stop for a while and back off, and they will continue to do things that a lot of times that they'll continue to do will be tainted because they won't have the mental faculty or capacity at that moment to continue down that road, that logical process road. And that's all important in certain endeavors. You just cannot not do it. You absolutely must use that logical process to come to a lot of conclusions, because if you don't, you're going to, at the very least, harm folks, maybe only yourself, maybe others, but at the worst, you're going to potentially kill people by misaction, inaction, or whatever it happens to be, by doing things that are improper, inappropriate, whatever you want to say. And so you have to be very careful when you apply logic to do a couple of things, and one of them is to not allow yourself to be so driven that you deprive yourself of needed care, needed rest, and so forth, food, nutrition, whatever it happens to be, exercise. Because I'm here to tell you something. When my physical state, whether it's because of exercise or lack of sleep or not resting or not walking away from things periodically or not eating properly or whatever it happens to be, whenever those things are messed up, my logical process suffers horrendously as a result. It's already hard enough to deal with noises from outside that you have to deal with. Now, to be fair, I have a feeling that I'm mildly autistic, and as such, I think that there are certain things that I suffer from, deal with, and so forth, that anybody who's not mildly autistic, and maybe some that are, don't have to worry about. I'll tell you this, though. Out of myself and other people, I know myself to be a person who can deal with more stress, more harsh situations than most people. That was one of the things that served me very well when I was in the Air Force, was, man, if I wanted to be up, I remember one time I did a 16-hour shift, got 4 hours of rest or less, and was woken up again and called back into work for another 12 hours. All right? You do the math. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that's a long doggone time right there. It just doesn't take a genius. Now, to be fair, I was young and relatively healthy at the time, so it wasn't nearly as much of a thing for me as it would have been for lots of people who were a lot older. In fact, I'm sure a lot of the older guys really were dragging to make it through that. Also, I was in the Air Force, so what I was expected to do wasn't nearly as physical and so forth as folks in the Army, the Marine Corps, and so forth, right? Those guys, oh gosh. If they tell you I pulled a 36 recently, you better know they did some serious stuff. And of course, we're not just talking about the military, right? We're talking about the medical community and so forth. And this is why, where they do these things where they push medical students and so forth through these long shifts, my answer to that is that's really a bad idea, because it's going to affect the logical process for those individuals. Now, the fortunate thing is, in many cases, they have nurses who maybe are working lots of hard shifts, but not hopefully as hard as the doctors in lots of instances. And fortunately, they're the ones who are running the show lots of times and will stop people before they do something stupid or problematic. The point is, when you interfere on the logical process, whether it's through your emotion, whether it's through your lack of sleep, whatever it happens to be, you need to be completely aware that you're potentially doing things that will be almost impossible to overcome. And this is why I wanted to talk on the subject of logic today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 4th of September of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Sunday, the 5th of September of 2021. By the way, happy Sabbath to all of you who are observing the Sabbath today. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for having come along. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a positive Rumble or a plus on Rumble. You can also use the boxing glove, or you can give me a negative Rumble on Rumble if you choose to do so. You can give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube if you choose to do that. I would love to see comments. I'd like to know what people think about my content, whether or not they think I'm doing something that's worth their time and effort. I get some idea from how many hits I get, but the truth of the matter is that's not necessarily a great way to tell. Today's subject has been logic, and tomorrow we're going to talk on the subject of vaccination status, and I have a very specific reason that I want to talk on that subject, but we will get into that tomorrow. Hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, the 4th of September of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.